Now in France 24's Belle Upton, who joins me now with a look at Media Watch. Of course, is getting then a lot of attention on social media. Start off.
So we're going to begin with the French press, as you might expect, and particularly the local French press down around the Nice area. So I'm going to start with a paper, La Provence, which on its front page had simply the word horror, the horror. Attack in Nice, France, hit again, because of course this is not the first terrorist attack that we have seen in the last 18 months. Now, if we go to another local paper, the Dépêche du Midi, this is a southern newspaper in France. Now, this one talks of, again, the horror and the panic that was felt amongst those people when that truck started its carnage through the crowds. And again, a newspaper up in the north of France, this time La Voix du Nord, talks about mortel à Nice, a mortal, deadly attack in Nice. And of course, it has the 14th of July there riding high on the headline, reminding people that this was a French national holiday. This was Bastille Day. Now, if we go to the national press in France as well, Le Parisien also talking about that 14th of July, the Bastille Day, again using the word horror in Nice. This is a word that we're seeing again in Le Figaro, right-leaning paper. We're seeing, the same words are being used again and again: horror, carnage, this sort of language. If I take you to some papers outside of France, we've got the UK press. A lot of papers in the UK actually reissuing their front pages, changing their edition very last minute in order to publish and change so that they could reflect the terrorist attack that had happened in France. They're also showing here that's the front pages, but you've got there 70 people dead. The Daily Mirror, again, another tabloid, talking about 74 killed by a terrorist. Of course, things are moving so quickly here that the papers can't keep up. The death toll.
Unfortunately, it's already risen to 84.
Exactly. So the death tolls can't keep up. The Times is one of those that absolutely changed its headlines and was a little bit more vague with its death toll. Dozens of revelers dead in Bastille Day massacre, using the word massacre. If I cross over the Atlantic to the US, the Miami Herald also going with this story on its front page. There, you can see it there. And also the Chicago Tribune talks about a night of terror. So again, those words that we've been seeing again and again, horror, terror. Le Point, a paper here in France, has a little map for us just to be very precise about how this attack unfolded. So it shows, I'm going to point with my mouse here, where the truck started its journey or its attack rather, and across here where the attack is in red here. So this is the Promenade des Anglais, where suddenly it sped up and started hitting people. And this finally over here is where it was stopped by police and by security forces.
And Belle, we are hearing, of course, from eyewitnesses now.
We are hearing from eyewitnesses. We can't verify all of those eyewitnesses, but here is one that we can. It came from a journalist for the local paper, the Nice Matin. He was talking about a soirée cool. It was a nice atmosphere, a nice ambiance on that Promenade des Anglais. He says he was on his scooter zigzagging between people, this journalist, and then a fraction of a second later, a huge white truck was amongst us. He says, quite poetically here, I saw bodies flying like bowling pins from the truck, then cries of, he's coming back, but that was a false alert. And then he describes the aftermath, just screams, sounds that he says he will never forget.
All right, Belle, we're going to have to leave that there. Thank you, though, for a look at how this tragedy is being covered then on French press and elsewhere. We're now going to speak with a former head of the DGSE, that's France's external intelligence agency, of course, because so much focus has been